Good morning, everybody. Today's June 9th, and today's date is the date when every single dollar a Canadian has earned this year up until today has gone towards Liberal taxes. It was confirmed by a Fraser Institute report that almost 50% of an average Canadian's paycheck today goes towards taxes. And today, this year, Canadians will pay almost $2,000 more in taxes than they did in previous years. And this is the direct result of Mark Carney's failed policies. He sold himself to be the person that would give us the fastest growing economy in the G7. What he actually delivered was giving Canadians the only recession in the entire G20. In fact, since he's became Prime Minister, 3 out of the last 4 quarters, he's given us a GDP growth decline. And this is a direct result of his failed policies. He said that he would be fiscally responsible. What he gave Canadians was doubling of Justin Trudeau's deficit. In fact, not only did he have the first highest, but he had the second highest deficit outside of COVID in Canadian history. And we know that today's deficits are tomorrow's taxes. And that's clear to see in what Canadians are actually experiencing today. That's why we see 2.2 million Canadians going into a food bank in a single month. We see 1 in 4 Canadians who are food insecure. There's more and more pain and suffering in Canadians, and today was also confirmed that personal insolvencies are up once again. Just last week, the PBO has confirmed what Canadians already know, that this government cannot keep its promises. The PBO confirmed that the fiscal anchors will be broken, whether it's the debt to GDP ratio that will go up, whether it's the fiscal projection of the government that they will go over it by $7 billion, or the fact that there's less than 1% chance of this government meeting its deficit to GDP ratio. At the end of the day, all of these stats and numbers are confirmed in the experience of Canadians today who are feeling the pinch at home. Almost 120% of an average Canadian's paycheck goes towards rent and food now. It's because when they go to a grocery store, they see the impact of Liberal failures. They have one of the highest food inflations in the entire G7 because of things like hidden food taxes, the industrial carbon tax, the clean fuel standard. When they fill up their tanks, they see that their gas is a lot more expensive than even the Americans have. This is all to fail Liberal policies. That's why today Canadians are paying more and more in taxes to cover up for the Liberal incompetence. The Conservatives are calling on what we've been calling on for the last 10 years, fiscal discipline. We're asking them to implement the Conservative plan for a dollar for dollar law, that any government department that spends $1, they should find $1 of saving, just like households are doing today. We need to end the reckless spending, like the $20 billion that are going to consultants that are liberally connected insiders that are profiting off of the pain and suffering of Canadians. We are paying more today as Canadians on the interest on this Liberal debt than what goes to healthcare, to provinces, to healthcare transfers, and what we collect in GST. It's time to reverse these bad Liberal policies so we can give Canadians a break and give them that safe and affordable Canada that we all once knew. Thank you.
Mr. Hallan, there's a couple budget-related bills that are kind of at the stage of amendments. Is there anything you're pushing for to get changed as the House rushes to pass these bills?
Look, whether it's the Spring Economic Statement, which Mark Carney delivered the second highest deficit outside of COVID in Canadian history, or the budget, which was delivered the first highest. What we're calling for is fiscal discipline. They need to end the vanity projects like the $90 billion Alto Boondoggle project that they have. We need to give Canadians a break that they deserve. We need to get what we're calling for continuously is getting rid of those bad Liberal policies that aren't letting any of our resources get built. We need to bring fiscal discipline, bring in that dollar for dollar law, and get rid of some of the bad Liberal policies or these Liberal vanity projects, as I said, so that we can bring down the deficit, bring down the debt, and bring down taxes for Canadians.
The Gordie Howe Bridge is set to open up on Friday. I'm wondering what the Conservative reaction is to a project that's been long-standing in the works.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll just say it's finally open. We're happy that it's open. It took long enough.
Took long enough? Do you put the blame at Mr. Carney for it not opening sooner?
I mean, with anything when it comes to any type of infrastructure in this country, it's pretty clear to see, like, yeah, we're happy that the Gordie Howe Bridge is already open, but if we're going to talk about infrastructure, I think the most important infrastructure that we need here in Canada today is our resource sector. I'm an Alberta MP. The best thing we can do for Canadian growth and our economy and unity is for this Liberal government to get out of the way, get rid of their anti-development laws like Bill C-69, the tanker ban, the industrial carbon tax. We need to get more built in this country. There's only one person that's standing in the way. That's Mark Carney and their anti-development policies. That's the most important thing that we can do today for Canada's prosperity.
One of the things that economists have pointed to driving up recent deficits is the income tax cut that the Liberals put through starting last July. You spoke about the tax burden on Canadians to start the press conference today. So are Conservatives pushing for deeper income tax cuts, and how do you balance that with the fiscal discipline message?
Well, we had a very clear laid out plan of what we would do for tax cuts. There's another side to that whole equation, and that's the revenue side. And if we're developing our resources, we're not only creating great Canadian jobs, but we're also increasing the revenue through a good, better economy. And along with that, we see that anything that Mark Carney has promised is not being, it's not there, it's not being realized. When we have good resource development, we also have good real estate development. I came from the home building industry. Even I know that whenever there's a good resource sector in Canada, our real estate goes up as well. We'll have more homes for people to move into, which will also drive down the costs. It makes us more responsible on behalf of Canadians as well. That's what we need to be focused on right now. And again, it's not going to happen until we get rid of those anti-development Liberal laws that are blocking our projects from getting built. And the permitting is horrific today in this country. In fact, we're the second worst in the OECD when it comes to permitting. If they would just implement our Conservative plan of let's get these projects approved within 6 months to a year, and let's get these projects rolling. Let's show the world we're open for business once again. Lower business taxes, lower corporate taxes, lower personal income taxes. Let's create that environment here in Canada, whereas the Liberals drove out $1 trillion of Canadian investment. Let's bring that back here once again for Canadians.
Are Conservatives in favor of a proposed social media ban for youth under 16?
Look, I'm a parent, and it is a real concern. The amount of screen time inside homes, it's a topic of major discussion in households. But the other side to this is like whenever what we've seen from the Liberals is every time they bring forward some type of bill, there's always some type of poison pill in there, or there's always something that either overreaches on privacy or security of Canadians. We're going to take a really good look at this. We're going to talk to stakeholders. We're going to have a really deep discussion, as we do with every single bill, and thoroughly read it. But we have to see what the bill looks like and what it has in it before we can do that.
The Liberals have proposed changes to the CRTC when it comes to streamers, the amount of money they have to pay into CanCon. There's been some other things that some folks have viewed as concessions to the Americans in terms of trade talks. How do you feel about where trade talks are, and do you support those changes that Liberals have made recently on those issues?
I'm not really sure about what trade talks are happening right now. We hear that there's trips to the U.S., but there's nothing that materializes when they come back. There's been a lot of trips, a lot of handshakes, a lot of MOUs around the world, not just with America, but Canadians haven't seen any results from them. The Liberals did this before with the DST, the Digital Services Tax. Conservatives were against that tax. We already had known, and they were bringing in at a time when they knew that anyone who brought that in, Americans would put higher tariffs on them. We saw that happen to France, yet the Liberals continued down that path, and then they had to do a 180, and they flip-flopped on it and had to step back. They did the same thing now with the CRTC. So it's not just, Mark Carney promised he would have a deal by July the 1st, 2025. We have still not seen a deal with the Americans. Canadians deserve a deal. Everything is on the line. Our economy is on the line. Canadian paychecks are on the line. They need to get a deal done. They need to get serious about this and just end the announcements and the fake handshakes. It's time to get a deal done for Canadians.